gospel this week, we hear of the multiplication of loaves and fish. This is one of the earliest stories I remember from the Bible. I don't think I remember a time when I didn't know about this story. I'm sure it existed. Maybe I was like one, maybe, but I've heard this story like every year of my life. But I want to look at a part of the story that I've never actually thought about, which is the little boy. As the story goes, Jesus is there with the disciples, and there's a ton of people there, thousands of people. It says 5,000 people, but we know it was more because they were only counting men. And so it was over 5,000 people were there. It was a BTS concert, and people are getting hungry because that's what we do. And so the disciples were like, where are we going to get food? And they're freaking out. And they say, well, this little boy has 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. But that's all we got. And Jesus uses those and multiplies them and feeds everybody that's there. And they have tons of leftovers, right? Which is always great. Leftovers are fantastic. I love leftovers. The reason I want to talk about this little boy with the 5 loaves and 2 fish is because that's the person in the story that I identified with as I read it this time. Last week, we were talking about how young people, teenagers, kids in middle school, young adults, how you're being called to be leaders like Christ, leaders that bring people together and take away the things that divide us. And that's what this kid did, right? It doesn't talk about it too much in the scripture, and I've never really talked about it or thought about it. But if that kid hadn't had the 5 loaves and 2 fish, the story might have been totally different. If there wasn't someone willing to give what they had and share what they had, we might not know this story. In the first reading, we hear the prophet Elisha telling his followers that they need to trust that God will provide. With this little amount of food, it's a very similar story to the gospel. With this little amount of food, God is going to provide enough for everybody. And the followers are like, how is that going to happen? And Elisha is just trusting that God's going to do it. In this story, Jesus does that, but also, the little boy does that. Imagine if you were in a crowd of people and you have some food and everybody's hungry and someone asks you if they can take all your food to share it around. That's kind of unfair, right? Like, you brought this stuff, you planned ahead, your mom or dad, or maybe even you, like, had the foresight to be like, hey, I'm going to get hungry. I'm going to pack my lunch and maybe a little extra, maybe, right? That's what he did. And then the disciples are like, hey, can we have your food and give it to everybody? That little boy had to have an insane amount of trust that, yeah, I guess so. Like, I'm going to give it to these people and I'm going to eat somehow. Like, I guess I'm going to eat somehow, right? He trusted God enough to know that God provides. And that's a big thing about the readings this week. God provides not just what our body needs, food, water, a warm place to sleep. God doesn't just provide for those things. He provides for all our needs, our physical, spiritual, mental needs. God provides. How many times are we worried that we're going to end up without what we need? How many times have we had a long day, we're really tired, and a friend calls us up and is like, hey man, I really need you. Can you come over and help me out? And we're just like wiped out. And if we go to help them out, are we going with like this attitude of, I can't believe my life, I can't believe this is happening? Or we could also go with an attitude of, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I trust that not only will this be okay, but maybe my life and his life will be even better because this unexpected thing happened and I'm reacting to it in a way that I think is good and right. There's an illusion that exists that I think all of us believe at some point in our lives, and it's the illusion of scarcity, the illusion that there's not enough of something. There's not enough food in the world to feed everybody. There's not enough space in the world for everybody to live comfortably. There's not enough space in our country for everybody to live comfortably, right? We all want more space. We have personal bubbles. We have things that belong to us that we don't want to share. And yet, the readings are telling us, whoa, God provides. But in the gospel today, God provides when someone, a little kid, is open to sharing what he has. So for me, that tells me that when I see a need that I can help with, or I can even fill or partially fill, and I feel God asking me to share what I have, especially when I don't think what I have is enough, I gotta share that thing. I don't think I have enough money, but I'm gonna give it. I don't think I have enough food, or I don't know if I packed enough lunch, but someone's hungry, I'm gonna give it because I know God's gonna provide. You all know Father Ivan here at St. Raphael. And Father Ivan, the first time I met him, I think it was the first time I met him, I had, I think, like breakfast cereal in my office. And I was staying late one day at St. Raphael. I was doing a lot of work and I was hungry. And I got this breakfast cereal that I had in the closet, and I took it to the rectory, and I was gonna get a bowl and eat it there and then go back to work. Father Ivan was there and he had his dinner. And we had never met before, but we introduced ourselves, started talking a little bit, and he saw my cereal and he was like, are you gonna eat that, or is that your dinner? And I was like, yeah, I was just gonna have like a little bowl and then go back to work. And he gave me half of his dinner. I don't know if he was particularly hungry that day. I don't know what kind of day he had, if he had a really long day. I don't know how he was feeling that day before I met him. All I know is that he saw that I had some cereal and he offered me this really good meal that he had, and we shared it. And that was really important to me. That like really impacted me, that he would share his meal, share half of his meal with someone that he had never met before. That's what God's calling us to do. He's calling us to share what we have, especially when we see a need, and to trust that he'll not only take care of us, but that our lives will be even better because we were open to share what we had with God and with others. I hope that that speaks to you somehow in whatever you're going on in your life, that wherever you think you don't have enough, God will give you what you need and even more. And I pray that God helps us all be open to sharing what we have with others, especially when we think it's not enough. God bless you. Take care of yourselves and each other, and see you next time.
We hope you like this video. Please click subscribe and ring the bell to be notified every time we post something new for you. God bless.